Hey now, welcome to Greg Fitzsimmons' podcast. It's called Fitzdog Radio, and it's been going now for 1,000, and I think this is 1,002. Starting fresh with a new 1,000 with a new attitude. New attitude, baby. Following the dream. It's a new dream now. I'm not sure what it is, but we're reconfiguring some stuff mentally, and I think it's going to involve an ayahuasca trip to the desert out at Joshua Tree with a buddy of mine, and we're going to reset everything. I think I'm ready. Everyone's like, oh, you throw up? I don't give a shit. I'll throw up. I'll get whatever it takes to get to a place where I can shrink the ego, take 5 giant steps back from my life, and see it all clearly. That's what I need. And I need something else, and we'll talk about that later in the podcast. Very exciting today. I had a nice conversation this past week with Zane Lamprey, who's coming on the podcast. And then next week, Stephen Wright. Oh, one of the greatest comedians of all time. Philosophical, profound, silly, funny. And I just read his book over the weekend. He's got a new book called Harold, and it's a flight of fantasy told from the point of view of a 7-year-old boy whose mind wanders and who has fantastic dreams, and he goes in and out of them. And it's so, it's dreamlike. Reading it is dreamlike, and then there's hard jokes that just make you laugh. They make you laugh out. At one point, he's talking about how women are like those Russian stacking dolls, because you open up one and there's another one inside of it, and then you open that, there's another one inside of it. And it's all this boy just sort of ruminating on stuff, and he's like, I think it's really ironic that every year thousands of people go and they visit the site where Henry David Thoreau, a hermit, lived. He was a hermit, which I've always thought about, but I never. It's like something you see, but you don't put to words. What was the other thing he said? Jesus loves you because he doesn't know you. A lot of stuff about God and religion. Really good. So anyway, had a good weekend. I did a ton of sets, running around Hollywood, doing shows. Comedy Store was fun. Theo Von's in town, and Eric Griffin was hanging out. Andy Letterman, good hang. And then some guy in the showroom came out and he threw up on the ground, and then he threw up in a garbage can. And the manager, I showed up, and all I saw was a guy in flip-flops carrying a garbage can out to the dumpster in the parking lot. The manager made the drunk clean up after himself. He made him carry the garbage out. He made him mop up the floor in front of everybody. Everybody's walking through the back hallway while this fucking fool. How do you get that drunk? This guy was like 30 years old. Come on, people. It's like getting drunk and out of control as a teenager, maybe up until 19 or 20, is okay. By the time you're the legal drinking age, you should be able to not throw up in public, unless you're on ayahuasca, of course. My kids partied hard this weekend. They're 22 and 19, so they're really in control. They've had their bad nights, but in general, they're not drunks. But they went up. My son went to EDM. Am I saying it right? An EDM party on a golf course in Santa Cruz with all of his friends. So who knows what happened there. And then my daughter went camping with 8 of her friends up in, not far from there, actually. She was up near San Francisco, but in some redwood forest, and she had a blast. Dropped her fucking cell phone. We got to buy her a new one. And it was nice. We were empty nesters this weekend. The kids were gone. And I thought, all right, I'm going to get a lot of action. I'm going to take those Blue Chews that I used to get when they were a sponsor, and they kept sending them to me, and I have drawers and drawers full of Blue Chews. And not that I need them, but it gives you that extra little turbocharge. It makes you feel like kind of like a superhero with a cock. But meanwhile, no action, because she was taking this course. She's a doula, and she gets certified. She's always getting new certifications. Like years ago, she became a lactation consultant, which took like 2 years. Then she became a patient advocate, which took a couple years. Then she became a doula, and now she's taking other courses that expand and broaden her knowledge about being a doula, and then it raises what she can charge. But she loves it. She loves the babies. She loves learning about it. She loves the health aspect. She loves helping the moms. She's perfect for this job, and I'm so proud of her. She joined up this doula group. There's an association that's pretty big, and she's now the president of the Doula Association, and she's in meetings every day, which I'm not the kind of person that does that stuff, because she doesn't get paid for that. She's just doing it because she's just a good person. I don't relate to her sometimes. She's so good. She's just so pure and giving, and she doesn't have an ego. She has no ego. I got to get rid of my ego. I'm not saying I'm an ego like a narcissist or somebody who's full of themselves. I'm just I have too much self-consciousness, too much awareness, and I need to let go of that and be more in the moment and the flow. That's what I'm working on right now. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I did a show in Escondido, California, and there was a guy in the audience, and I go, "What do you do for a living?" And he goes, "I'm a musician." I said, "Are you in a band?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "A big band?" And he said, "Yes." But he wouldn't tell me who they were. He said he'd tell me after the show. Did I talk about this? Anyway, he's in this band called Animal Kingdom, and I literally just today was like, I got to check them out. They had a couple albums. They're a British band. They were fucking amazing. Check out Animal Kingdom. I don't think they exist anymore. I think they broke up. I don't know why. They had 2 albums, and the first one is just fucking gorgeous. So check that out. What else is going on? A friend of mine has cancer. Pretty bad. Very bad. This is the second wave of it hitting her. They thought they get rid of it. Now it's back, and now she wants to do stand-up comedy. So I'm going to be coaching her and teaching her how to perform, and she's going to do jokes about having cancer and facing mortality in a funny way. So maybe I'll play clips of it on the podcast. That would be kind of cool. I'm also directing a special. Zane Lamprey, who's on the podcast today, he asked me to direct his special. So we're doing that on Saturday. I got a phone call with him in an hour. And then I'll be down in Huntington Beach Saturday night taping it. I'll be there Friday night performing my own show at a different venue. And then just coincidentally, I'll be there Saturday for his. Writers Guild strike is going on. People are walking the line. It's a lot of pasty-faced, overweight people that have been sitting indoors for 12 hours a day for many years, but they're great conversationalists. You can talk to people. I mean, writers' rooms basically are it's like training for the Olympics in sports. Training for conversation is a writer's room. You're around 10 other people that are highly intelligent, quick, funny, and you have to keep up all day. And so they're on the line, and it's fun. It's fun. And we're doing a good thing because right now, and people have no sympathy for the writer's strike, but I'm telling you, unions they can't be forsaken in this country. They're all we got left. And the profits that these CEOs and these companies are making versus writers' wages over the last 10 years have gone down 25%. So support the Writers Guild and all unions, really. Okay. All right, a couple nice emails. Matt Turfree said, congratulations on 1,000 episodes. You listed off the locations of some of your various radio recordings. One of my favorites, you recorded in a treehouse. Not sure who the guest was. Looking forward to the next 1,000. Yeah, it was Michael Ian Black. He came over to my house, and when he came in, I had built this crazy big treehouse in my front. It took up most of my front yard because I built, first there was a cedar structure that was like prefab that I put together. And then I added a roof deck with a roof on top of it. And then I added a tunnel, and I added a rock climbing wall to get in the other side. And then we built it onto the roof of the house. It was crazy. And he was admiring it. I go, why don't we do the podcast in there? So we crawled inside a little space in the treehouse and we did the podcast. It was very fun. I have to do more shit like that. I got to get outside of the studio. Bernie H. something, Ho, Bernie Ho. Sorry to hear about your health insurance situation. I lost my Writers Guild health insurance because I haven't written on a show in a few years. And now I'm paying $3,000 a month for Blue Cross, which has an $8,000 deductible. He said, oh, and I went a month without insurance because I didn't realize it had run out. So he said, don't ever give if you're without insurance, he said, never give a medical clinic or hospital your social security number. In fact, it's illegal for them to ask for it and illegal to deny you medical care if you tell them no. Second, buy the book Never Pay the First Bill by Marshall Allen. He was on Ralph Nader's podcast. Scroll through. I guess it teaches you basically that the first bill you get from insurance, you can contest stuff and save some money. So do it. All right, let's do a couple overheards. Colin Ogilvy says, coworker talking to someone on speakerphone. Person on the phone asks, will there be a lot of hard R's in the room? Coworker replies, there will be some hard R's, but some soft R's as well. I think that's what you like, a soft R. That's who you want to hang with at a party. It's like Greg from Succession. They're fascinating people. This is from Gregory Militov. I'll get some weird fucking names today. Hey, Greg, not an overheard, but kind of a funny overseen. I was in a Taco Bell drive-thru behind an electric Nissan Leaf with a zero-emission badge. Couldn't help laughing at the irony of zero emissions at Taco Bell. I was once driving from a college show to another college show. I had a nighttime show in I was in Iowa. That's where I was. And it was late at night because I finished my show, and my next show was at noon in a cafeteria the next day at a college that was about 5 hours away. So I got on the road after the show. I hadn't eaten for some reason, and all of a sudden it's like almost midnight, and I'm starving, and there's nothing on the road. It's an empty highway, and all of a sudden, like an oasis, like a beacon during a storm, I see a neon light for a Taco Bell. I didn't know Taco Bell very well. I don't know that I'd ever even eaten there before. So I pull in, and I'm like, thank God. I go up to the counter, and I walk in, and there's a fat-ass security guard. And he's disgusting. He looks like he's eaten nothing but Taco Bell 3 times a day for the last 10 years. And so as I walk in, he goes into the men's room ahead of me, and I was like, shit, I was trying to get in there first. Order my food. I wait for him to come out of the bathroom while my food is being made. And then I go in to take a piss. And in the 5 seconds I was in the bathroom, it was so nauseating. It was a smell I can't describe. It was like ethanol meets sulfur, eggs. It was terrible. And I got so grossed out, I left the food on the counter. I went out to my car, and I just kept driving. That's the last time I've been at Taco Bell. Frank Wolf said, I work out at my local Jewish community center. Not that it matters, but I'm not Jewish. It's the best bang for your buck in terms of fitness, has the best preschool in our area. I was in the locker room and an older fellow I was familiar with was talking to another person. The other guy was telling the older fellow that his membership was included with his child's tuition. The older fellow said, you know, they don't teach these kids about Jesus Christ. All right. Why did I read that? I don't get it. All right, listen. We got a couple more overheards, but let's save them for next week because it's time. My wife needs the car. I'm not kidding. She's got to go take care of a baby. Huntington Beach, the Rec Room, May 12th. That's this Friday night. Don't miss it. Columbia, Missouri at the Blue Note, May 19th. Kansas City, the Argosy Casino, May 20th. Austin, Texas, Joe Rogan's Mothership, May 25th through the 27th. Boston, Laugh Boston, June 16 and 17. Point Pleasant, New Jersey at Uncle Vinny's, July 22nd and 23rd. All tickets available at Fitzdog.com. Come out and see some live comedy. Also, this show's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. They are an amazing sponsor I've had for many years. And if you're thinking about getting into some therapy, online might be the way to go for you. It's easy to get caught up in what everyone needs from you. You got to think about what you need for yourself. People are in codependent relationships, and it can make you exhausted. It can make you wonder who you are. It can make you resentful. That's something you might want to focus on for the summer, is taking care of yourself. I got into BetterHelp during the pandemic, and it helped me a lot in dealing with issues I had with my kids and detaching from my kids, taking care of myself a little bit. And so if you're thinking about doing it, it's convenient, it's flexible. Just fill out a brief questionnaire. They match you with a licensed therapist, somebody who's matched to you with the things you're looking for, and they're a specialist in that. If you don't like that therapist, you can switch anytime for no charge. So find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp, that's a P at the end, .com/Fitzdog. Today, get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Fitzdog. Also, a new sponsor. I got to tell you, I'm getting a lot of people writing me about GameTime.com. It's actually GameTime.co, not com. But really, you should be going to the app, because the app it keeps you from stressing out about buying tickets. I had a couple friends, and they went to see Willie Nelson's 90th birthday celebration at the Hollywood Bowl this past weekend, and prices were high. And guess what? They watched them on Game Time, and they went down right before, and they grabbed a couple for a very reasonable deal. That's what Gameco is all about. They have flash deals, last-minute tickets, every kind of event in your area. We're talking comedy, baseball, basketball, theater. It's amazing, and you don't have to plan in advance anymore. You're going to get a better price as you get closer to the event. You can look at the seats. You can look at what it looks like from the seats. They give you like a view of what you're looking at, and there's a lowest price guarantee. There's event cancellation protection, job loss protection. It's a pretty cool experience. And if it takes a few seconds, a couple of taps, it goes right into your phone. You don't have to worry about printing anything. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Fitzdog for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Fitzdog for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Okay, let's get to my guest. He has set 2 world records. One for the longest live podcast. It was 26 hours. I don't know how the fuck he did that. And also sabering the most champagne bottles in under a minute, 31 bottles. Sabering, I think that's opening. Is that opening one? He also kind of is a maverick. He's done traditional cable TV, but he's also done like crazy, like crowd-funded television. He did one on Chug. He raised like $500,000 to shoot some episodes. He raised a couple million on Kickstarter when he launched his apparel brand, which he, by the way, owes me some sweatshirts from. He hosted 3 sheets on the Travel Channel, Have Fork Will Travel on the Food Network, Drinking Made Easy, bunch of stuff. So a very funny comic, and we had a really good time talking, and we did a Talk Your Way Out of It, which was fun. So you can check that out at the end. So here he is, the great Zane Lamprey. Here's what I love is like your production value is so much higher.
Now
than
you're
mine.
just starting like this.
Yeah, well, you know,
You had such a good introduction to me before.
it was sweet.
It was good. How can you repeat it?
I'm gonna repeat it even better.
Okay.
For those of you that don't know that weren't here, we started the podcast and the audio recorder was not.
Well,
turned on.
is it the audio? Is it the recorder's fault? I mean, if we're sort of like pointing, I don't know. I'm just saying.
I just gave a personality to an object, didn't
Yes,
I?
you did.
It's like my cock with my wife. I'm like, it's not working.
It's not. It doesn't like you. I do.
Yeah, I'm totally into you, but he's judgmental. He's judgmental.
Yeah, sorry, honey. I'll talk
Maybe
to
some
it.
yoga. So Zane Lamprey is a guy who is a new friend for me because I feel like
Yeah,
I think we're on our way.
we are. You've done my podcast twice.
Yeah.
And I think the great thing, I was telling my wife this, I said, you know, like in LA, most of my friends come from my podcasts.
Yeah.
Because when else you can have an opportunity to sit down with no phones, no music, no distractions, and just connect with somebody. So if I was a fan of yours, which I have been, and I reached out, I'm like, hey, do you want to go have food with me? I don't know. It's like, now would we on a date? I don't know what's going on. But a podcast enables us both to be pre-vetted.
Yep.
And then go out and sit down with each other and then have a conversation. And
no
then,
interruptions, no cell phones.
Exactly.
Right.
And then you start to realize where you have connections, which, I mean, if we're doing each other's podcasts, that means we already have one thing in common.
Yeah.
You know, doing stand-up, doing our podcast.
Mutual friends.
And then you're just like, again, you're pre-vetted. You sit down, you have this safe conversation where you can relate. And so...
And it's the lovemaking that they don't see after the podcast.
It's also the money that exchanges hands.
Yes.
This is...
And the merch. I gave you some merch. I gave you a Fitzdog radio cup.
This is a disproportionately expensive podcast for me to be on.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I gave you a lot of money, and I do get this, and then I get coffee served, and one, oh no, this is also yours. Okay, fine. Okay,
side.
that's it. Okay,
yeah.
we're good. I'm taking both cups.
So Zane is. I've talked before about this. There was an article that I read a long time ago, before social media and before people got viral. There was an article called 1,000 Fans, and it basically said that if you can curate 1,000 people to really support you, I mean, like buy your book, if you have a movie, they'll go see your movie. If you do stand-up, they're going to see your stand-up. And, you know, so basically if you're looking for $100 a year from people, premium membership on your podcast, then you can make a living.
Yeah. Not in Los Angeles.
Not in Los Angeles, but obviously take those numbers and go tenfold, which you can easily do.
Like that was before social media?
That was before social media.
So that tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're one of those guys, you've carved out that niche, and you do penis art.
Mm-hmm. You said you weren't going to use words that I don't understand.
Oh, art is when somebody uses their
is that like with the egg dish with the...
it's like an egg dish. You scramble it, red peppers.
I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
So you have a niche. You've cultivated a following of people that are alcoholics. Mm-hmm. You do brew shows.
Is that why we're friends now?
Yeah. No, I don't drink. I remember you gave me the fake beer on your show.
I know.
So you do brew shows instead of comedy clubs, and you have a podcast that's called Craft and Craft.
Crafts and Crafts, where we sit down, have a craft beer.
Yeah.
And we do arts and crafts.
Yeah.
And you came on there. And by the way, yours is coming out in real time When does this come out?
Tuesday the 9th.
Okay, that'll be a big day. A big influx of fans I'll probably get that day.
I'm guessing, I hired some staff because there's crashing. Things are.
Yeah.
You know what I hate? I hate when fucking comedians come on their social media and go, "Hey, sorry everybody. When the tickets went on sale, my website crashed, but we got it back up again. I'm just so thankful." Shut the fuck up.
You know what's
Will
crazy?
you please?
You know what's crazy? When my tickets went on sale last year, my website crashed.
Yeah, see, you're an asshole. I literally just said, here's an example of an asshole, and then you're like, yeah, that's me.
That's me. But here's the thing. I'm not telling you that like the plan I chose for my server was like, something you would have if you had like a local pharmacy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't prepared to take all these people at once. And all these people, you've already pointed out, was just 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And many of them were family.
Right.
So, yeah. What were we talking about? Niches? Yeah.
Niches. So you've got this niche. So now you go on tour, and I'll announce your tour dates later, but it's a very impressive
All of them?
tour.
You can announce all of them?
No. I'm gonna announce the ones that I think will happen before you have the nervous breakdown.
Okay, got it.
Because it's a lot. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
dates.
There's total this year I have done probably 130.
Damn.
And
these are not like Thursday through Saturday at a club where you're doing 5 shows. You're in a different city every single night.
We're in a different city every single night. Well, so I did my TV shows, which were travel drinking shows. I did 3 Sheets, 4 seasons of that, which was on a channel called In HD, which changed its name to Mojo. And then am I retelling the story? But it's
Please.
not. Okay. So I get a call from the head of the network, and he's like, "Hey, I got good news and bad news. This is November.
Yeah.
And this is in the middle of shooting season 4. And he said, I got good news and bad news. Good news is that 3 Sheets, we did a focus group, 3 Sheets, #1 show on the network, huge. In fact, it was the only show on the network that people actually knew.
Right.
And he said, he goes, and more people know about 3 Sheets than the network that it's on. And I said, oh, wow, what's the bad news? And he said, well, the second part was the bad news. No one's heard of the network. We're going off the air in 2 weeks.
So,
Merry Christmas.
So you're the best looking guy in Cortland, New York.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I wasn't even that.
No.
And so when I went to college there. And so, so then I had a Save 3 Sheets rally. So no one was buying the show. Like I figured...
It's kind of the opposite of an anti-abortion rally or a pro-abortion rally because most people get fucked up and get pregnant.
Right. Yeah. This was like, let's get together, save a show, and make babies.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I thought that we were doing so well on this network, one of the first high-def channels available. So when everyone got a high-def TV in this period of time, they would get 4 channels. That was it. And so what had happened was, I don't know if the technology improved, but it was like they were now going to have 8 channels, and all the bigger networks were like, hey, we want one of those channels, and they basically slid in and said, I think it was like Discovery was like...
And they didn't bring you, and they slid in.
Well, they weren't, it was a different network. They said, hey, we're going to take that spot, and Mojo's like, we can't pay the rent on that spot, so we're out. And so I just thought because the show was doing so well... I mean, I got on the Tonight Show because of that show. I was at Conan, as a guest, and it was pretty big for a minute. And so I thought that we'd get picked up by Food Network or Travel Channel or something like that. And so it didn't. And then I had a Save 3 Sheets rally. I had one in LA where about 600 people showed up, and we went bar hopping in Century City.
600 people went bar hopping?
Mm-hmm.
So you'd show up at one bar?
We showed up at what used to be the Pink Taco at Century City Mall.
Sure. Did you warn them in advance?
We did. I didn't know. I didn't know how many people would show up.
Yeah.
And so I show up with I think my publicist at the time and my buddy, and we're like, okay. So then let's go. So we walked through Beverly Hills, El Torito Grill, if it's still there. I don't know if it's there. That was another stop. And so we marched past all of the networks. They had offices in some of these buildings. And so did that. And then the next day, I think the red eye flew to New York, landed, and I was driving to the Irish bar that I had established we would meet at, and I called my buddy, and I said, my buddy is Steve, he's kind of a bonehead, and I said, hey, how many people are there? And he's like, hold on, he's like counting, he's like, all of them. It's just so dumb. So we think it was about 1,000 people. There was bagpipes and drums showed up, and we just marched through Manhattan. And the cops came up to me. They're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I didn't know. He's like, "You need a permit." I'm like, "My man, I don't know what to do," and whatever. He's like, just, they're New York cops. Like, we got to say something. We got bigger problems to deal with. Just go and do your thing. So I get to the last bar. It's an Irish pub, and it's like 3 or 4 stories. And we had filled the whole place.
Oh, I know the place you're talking about.
Near Times Square, probably?
Yeah.
And I'm on the top floor.
Is this the Pig and Whistle or something?
Maybe.
Okay.
I was drunk. And so I'm on the top floor, and my buddy comes running up to me, Steve. He's like, "Dude, Mark Cuban's downstairs. He wants to buy the show." I'm like, "Dude, Mark Cuban's not here to buy the show. You're an idiot." No, he's here. I'm like, "All right, I will go all the way downstairs just to prove you wrong." So go through people, all the way downstairs, go to the bar where Mark Cuban is standing.
No shit.
And he's like, "Zane, I want the show." And he's like, I'm like, "Buy it." He goes, "Well, here's the story. I tried to, but the network is trying to unload all of their shows, and so they're bundling it with 4 other shows.
Yeah.
So if I buy 3 sheets, I have to buy 5 shows, 4 of which I don't want."
That's 15 sheets, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's way too many for anybody. And so I was like, "Fair enough, whatever." And so he's like, "But call me when it's, when you're done, whatever."
Right.
And so it got picked up by Fine Living Network, and then it got picked up by Travel, or maybe in the other order, and then it got picked up by Spike, and then Hulu. Anyway, so it just kept going. But at some point, my contract expired. And the day that it expired, I called up Mark Cuban and said, "Hey, let's make a domestic version of 3 sheets. We'll call it Drinking Made Easy, shoot it just in the U.S." And he's like, "Done." I was like, "Oh, that's how that goes." Okay,
right.
Okay, fine. Yeah. And so
that was like your own Shark Tank. You had like your except he was coming to you.
It was before Shark Tank.
Yeah.
He had
Rosie O'Grady's is the place I'm thinking of.
Yes.
Rosie O'Grady's.
Yes.
3 stories in Times Square.
That was it.
Yeah.
And so and somebody made like a video out of that thing. It was pretty fun. And it was just,
what was he like to deal with?
I mean, honestly,
was out of his hands?
No, I dealt with him directly.
You did.
I pitched it to him. He said, "Okay, let's do it." Like, even at that time, he didn't have all the Shark Tank businesses, but at that time, Dallas Mavericks. He had HDNet, which was a channel. He had so many things, and so I just worked with him. And so he said, "I have a guy. I'll send him out to LA. You meet with him." Evan Heyman, he was the head of programming.
Yeah.
And you did? How did you run into him?
I think he worked at Comedy Central at one point.
Maybe. Yeah. And so he's like, "Okay, we'll do this or this and this." And then he's like, "You can use our cameras. You can use this. We'll put it together." And it was, half the budget of what 3 sheets was. But we made it happen.
Wow.
And then he's like, to make it up, I said, "Can I have like 2 15-second spots during the show to advertise my apparel?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure."
Right.
So then that was it. And we did that for 3 seasons until Mark sold it. And it became Access TV, which was just live concerts and stuff like that. So
unbelievable. Well, listen, that's all behind you. What you have ahead of you is this. Yes.
Okay. Gosh.
And here they are now.
Oh my God, yes.
Well, I mean, right now, comedy is booming I was there for the first boom. That's how long I've been around. Yeah, I mean, the first boom was in the early 90s. Mm-hmm. And it seemed unsustainable because the problem is that there was not enough good comedians to fill the amount of clubs that were opening because business was so hot.
Yep.
But now this boom has built slowly, and then it kind of got new life after the pandemic because people really wanted to go out. Mm-hmm. And I think that you've got people, again, that have their audiences. So you can have a club, and if a guy like you comes in, you're going to bring in your audience.
Right.
And then you're going to get maybe somebody who's a YouTuber that's going to come in.
Right.
Maybe they're more good looking than funny, but they're still going to fill the seats.
And then TikTokers.
Yeah. And then you've also got, people like Todd Barry, like people that are storied, amazing, great comics who maybe didn't used to do well on the road. And now because of social media, their people know. Like the worst is when you leave a city and then you get something on your social media like, "Dude, when are you coming to Minneapolis?" You're like, "I was fucking there 2 weeks ago."
Which, by the way, that's par for the course.
That's the worst feeling because you just realize.
And you only sold 7 tickets.
Yeah.
So that person would have made a difference.
Yes. Yeah. And it's not all your fault. Like, they gotta meet you halfway. The venues have to like take $200 and put out a Facebook boost.
And by the way, I will tell you that is the secret. That is the secret, because for what I'm doing, because coming out of the pandemic, I was trying to book the tour. And all of the venues were like, I mean, most of the venues were like, we're not sure when we're going to open, if we're even going to open in 2021.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get anybody to commit. And so, and the craft breweries all took a big hit because of the pandemic. And so then it was like, duh, let's do the show at breweries. None of them, rarely are they set up for stand-up, but they do make the accommodations to
they bring in their own sound system.
Bring in
for
their
you?
sound. They bring in chairs. They'll build a stage out of pallets. We bring in lights. I mean,
You bring in lights?
yeah, they're LEDs. They're so small. It's just
you
like,
travel with them?
Travel them. Yeah.
So on any given night, you might have a great sound system, or you might have one that the guy kind of half-assed.
You know, I have two guys, Nick Jerry, who you know. Is
I know Nick.
He's my opener, and he handles the day of, the advancing in the day of logistics. Trent, who's the tour manager, he books the venues and then does Zooms with them just to make sure people have it lined up.
Yeah.
And now it's to a point, I used to have to be part of that process, and now when I show up, I know that it's going to be great. I mean,
That's amazing.
one
that
out
you
of
got the
100
staff
maybe
you
is
can
like, yeah.
trust. So when I was there the other day, I think you had like 3 guys with you
Yeah.
on your crew.
Yeah.
And
For the shooting.
yeah, I just have me, and there's a part of me that like
I'll cut one of mine.
I don't know that I want them. Like, it's so hard to manage people. You seem like a guy that if you were not doing stand-up, you would be very successful managing something or starting a business or whatever. You just have those chops, and you have I see how you interact with them, and you're very like easy but efficient.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's, that's another thing now when you see guys like
You think
Sam.
about how many people that I've gone through to land with the guys I have now.
That's true.
Because even on tour, we started with a different tour manager.
Yeah.
With the podcast, I've gone through 3 or 4 people that just maybe they start off strong and then very quickly just get into their comfort zone,
or else they find another job.
Or else they find another job.
You know, for me, it's like I've had, I have a production company that I'll send all these files to them, and they edit it and they upload it and they make the social media clips. They do everything. But I've had producers in LA, and like, because the show isn't 5 days a week, I can't give them a paycheck for a week's work. So invariably they end up with a full-time job, and I lose them. So luckily now I'm with this production company where this is what they do. So they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, and then Shane, who you met, Shane Hartline, he's like a working actor.
Yeah.
Like he's done maybe 9 or 10 episodes of Station 19, which is a spinoff of Grey's Anatomy, and he was on Obi-Wan Kenobi. He was a stormtrooper, so he's always busy, and when he's not,
he was a stormtrooper.
Yeah, but that'd be amazing. Yeah, he was.
That's
a stormtrooper.
so cool.
So cool.
Yeah.
I would have stole that suit and dealt with whatever I had to.
Yeah.
And so and then Nick, he was on tour with me. Our schedules are aligned. You know what I mean? When I'm home, he's home, and I know he can pick up some stuff. So he's more doing the clubs when he's home, which I'm envious of, because I'm just trying to find the time. When I'm here, I have my special that I'm shooting on May 13th.
In Huntington Beach.
Yeah, my next Amazon Prime special. So like my days are kind of spent, because I'm the producer of that, just lining everything up, to the point where then when I'm, when I show up day of, I'm an entertainer. I know that my guys have everything covered, and I'm going to walk up on stage, and I don't have to be like, how's this camera, and it'll be lined up. So you saw the first one. That's kind of what it, started with.
Right.
And so, yeah. And then once that's done,
back on the road with new material.
With new material, which I'm, I don't know the way that things go. I don't know the way that other people do it, but like when I lay down this special, which is a show that has formed itself over the last 130 shows.
And so people know, like, you're a storyteller. Your act is a collection of stories.
Yes. Yeah, it is. Usually just things that I've done, decisions that I've made that I think are relatable because I make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Like silly mistakes, and my experience is it's just like, I'm not like the cool guy, you know what I mean? And it'll be,
No.
it's
No.
never been accused of that. I think I said something the other day to my wife. I'm like, I'm pretty cool. She's like, I don't know if cool's the word I'd use. I'm like, thanks. You can always
I have a
rely
running
on
bit
that.
with my wife where every day I give her a choice on my way out the door. I'm like, so would you say I'm cute or adorable?
Yeah.
And then she'll choose one. And
She's never like, bye, honey.
Yeah, no.
Or give me a third option.
Yeah. Your wife's very hot.
Yes, she is. She's a unicorn.
Mel?
She's a unicorn because she's a voracious reader.
Yeah? What kind of books?
If you give her something about Victorian England or even like the Gilded Age or turn of the century, like
historical fiction, or she likes actual history books?
She likes mostly nonfiction. Yeah. And she's always burning through one. Like I remember I had a book. It was 1,000 pages. It was a book about George Washington, and I was like reading, 15 pages a night, which was a good chunk. And then she'll just go like through like a book that's just as big,
right?
Probably a book every 3 days. And she was an honor student, and she was just kind of quiet and just, I don't know. She just never saw herself as that, and that is perfection because she got up into her 20s and she was like, I'm pretty. I'm like. And then she kind of blossomed, and then so she's just grounded. So
what does she do for work?
So she runs our pet rescue. So we have a 501c3.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
animal rescue. So we take
all
on
cats, or is it cats and dogs?
It's cats and dogs, but it's been mostly cats lately. We've done a lot of dogs, especially during the pandemic. Probably had 24 dogs.
Is that a for-profit thing?
Oh no. There's no. It's a labor of love, and for her to do it, it's a full-time thing. So she does it. She doesn't make any money from doing it.
So she's like Beth Ostrowski, Howard Stern's wife.
Oh right, exactly. I didn't know her last name. Yeah. Yes, yeah, for sure. And
that's the thing is like. You're successful when your wife is an animal rescue person or a photographer.
I think that's right. Right. I think that's right. Yeah, that's right. And so she, the discussion over it is she's like, do you want me to get should I do this and do this full time, or do I need to get work? And I was like, we just talked about it, and it's like the I don't know if this is the right term, but like the PR value for what she does to my brand values out to make it make sense. And I, it's so funny. I'm not great with posting on social media. And so like stories and all this kind of stuff. And I would go like silent for like a week, because I'm just like, guys, I don't know. I'm the drinking travel guy. We're home, especially during the quarantine, and I'm like taking care of like disabled cats.
Yeah.
I don't know what to post here.
Right.
And so because of that, now I'm doing a show called Zane's World. It's every week, and I just document my life. And so when I'm home right now, there's a lot of special needs animals in there. When I'm on the road, it's that. And I'm not trying to like be anything anymore, because when my show got canceled, like 3 Sheets, I did Drinking Made Easy. That got canceled. I kickstarted a show called Chug.
Yeah.
Which was the first ever crowdfunded TV show ever. Went on to Nat Geo and then Netflix. Then that didn't get...
Wait, so when you say crowdfunded, so you basically went out to your fans and you said, I want to shoot a pilot, or I want to shoot a series?
6 episodes.
Yeah, I want to shoot 6 episodes.
Because
so you got how much money for that?
I brought it around town and everybody passed.
Yeah.
And so it was called Chug. I travel by train. That's the joke of the Chug and whatever. And so I was trying to raise, I think, $500,000 to do 6 episodes.
Yeah, you could do that.
It's kind of, it rides the line of, you have to kind of make some concessions, but it worked.
Do you think if I did a Kickstarter to get a new Mustang, people would do it, or would they say this guy's an idiot?
They would.
They would do it, right?
They would do it. Maybe not a Kickstarter, but maybe a GoFundMe.
Yeah.
Because of the way that you approach it. I was going to do one. This is so wasteful, and so I didn't do it, but I was close. I was like planning it out. And what I was going to do is my buddy Steve, he was he did every episode of Drinking Made Easy with me. He was basically my stunt drinker. He's my best friend. He just like he wasn't, especially while we did that show and he was drinking, he just wasn't terribly sharp.
Yeah.
And now he stopped drinking and he's a considerably like successful contractor in Park City, Utah, like building houses.
And he's sober.
And he's sober and he's like sharp again. I don't know.
Yeah, you take
he's not fun.
You take a drunk and get him sober, man. He's got a lot of energy and focus because you waste a lot of it drinking.
But even when he wasn't drunk, maybe he was like detoxing or whatever it is. So just his neurons weren't firing.
Yeah.
And so I had it all planned. It was kind of a PR stunt kind of a thing. And I was like, I'm going to buy you a new car. And people will know however much they bid, this is the car that we get. So like, if you get 1,000, this is a car. If you get 2,000, you get this, and then basically like work our way up to like a nice car. So here's the thing, though: you get the car, it's yours, but after a week, we're gonna smash it.
No,
yeah, it's dumb.
What do you mean smash it?
It's just like destroy it, because it's like fuck you, Steve. I don't know.
Really?
I mean, it was an idea. We didn't follow through.
Oh, you didn't do it.
Oh no, because it seemed wasteful. What I should have done is like. You have it for a weekend, then I'm going to donate it, and I don't know, whatever. But I'm
trying to think of a way to make.
But your
it
reaction
noble.
is basically shows that like it would have gotten some press for it, and people would have done it just because of the silliness of it.
I need to find a way to make it noble and humble.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the truth is, I have dreamed of having a Mustang since I was a teenager.
Describe it like a 65,
like a 68 fastback.
Got it. Okay.
And and the new ones
which costs how much does that car that you want cost?
Well, I think I would get a new one. I'd get a new Mustang because I don't know how to repair them.
Which is really ironic because can we talk about the car you drive now?
Yeah, I drive a Prius.
Yeah, which is literally like, the other side of the spectrum.
It's the opposite.
Yeah.
No. And the thing is that when I bought this Prius, I was talking about it with my family, and my family is very like all about the environment, and my kids gave me so much shit about buying a Mustang, and they talked me into getting the Prius. And, look, I used to say I hate it, but I really don't hate it. It's a very functional, good, solid car. But every time I see a Mustang, I stop, my head turns, I'm drawn to it. It would make me so happy. But, I got 2 kids in college, and I can't, I'm looking at retiring in 10 years. I can't justify buying a car right now.
Leasing? I mean,
what about GoFundMe?
Okay, let's get back to that. Yeah. I will tell you, by the way, this is something I've never said before, but I was at one point dating Larry David's niece.
Okay.
And so I would go over there for like functions and stuff. And
bodily functions?
Fluids, yes.
Yeah.
And I was working at the time at Santa Monica Studios, which is close to here. Doing development, whatever, and my boss had a Humvee, the new ones, which is basically like a Tahoe, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I had it for a week, and I went over to the Davids, and Lori David, notorious for being a peach, she just tore into me because she's this big.
This is Larry's ex-wife?
Larry's ex-wife, yeah. She had some rough edges. And she was in pro-environment, whatever. And so am I. And I was just borrowing. It's not a big deal, but she was like, "You're driving a Hummer, like I shouldn't even let you in the house," and whatever. And then the next day, she gets on her private jet and flies someplace.
Yeah,
and just like, oh my
God, right. I know. It is tough.
I'll back it.
Huh?
I will back it.
You'll back.
I'll back your
GoFundMe.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Meaning I'll give you money.
Oh, yeah. Very nice.
Yeah. $100 done.
I mean, I think
that $100. By the way, I love your wallet is sitting there, and you have $100 is peeking out. I don't know if that's.
No, I did a show last
that a flex?
night. No, I did a show last night, and they paid me $300 in cash.
Nice,
nice.
Because
you never know. You go to, you just do spots in town to work on your set.
Yeah.
And then once in a while, and you expect $20,
yeah.
and the guy hands me $300 bills. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, that's fun.
That's fun money. That's like I'm getting a massage. I'm sending my wife for a mani-pedi.
I did the lab theater at the Improv a few weeks ago, and it's just my buddy's show, and like fill out this paperwork to get paid. I'm like, no, I'm good. He's like, no, just do it. I'm like, okay, fine. Filled out like 2 pages, and the guy gave me $10. I was like, I will pay you $10 not to fill out this paperwork.
Right,
like, $10? What does that even do?
I know. Where do you work out in town?
I don't. It's very rare that I do. I mean, honestly, well, no, that's not true. So I'm doing my show, in Huntington. So I'm doing 2 shows down there at Golden Road Brewing. Tickets available at zanelamprey.com. And I'm doing breweries in town. So I'm doing Lawless, where we record my podcast.
Yeah.
I did Laverne. I have Gamecraft Brewing in Laguna Hills. I have Booze Brothers and Vista. This is all, I guess,
So you're
tomorrow.
always doing your hour-long show. You're never just popping in and doing 15 minutes somewhere.
No. And that's what I was kind of saying before is like, I'm burning this hour into my brain. And then once I dump it on May 13th, it's kind of like it's gone.
Yeah.
But I've laid it down in the annals of history so that it lives on. And now it's like I go and do fresh stuff. So when I start my tour like I did last year, when I started it, I basically took pieces of that I knew worked, my opener, my closer, piece of the middle, kept that, and then started building my new set, and then started taking pieces away. So by the end, it was brand new. So like that's when I'd start doing the show on May 31st, it'll just have remnants. They'll just be aggressively chipped away.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to do like more crowd stuff.
Yeah.
Because I love it. How much crowd work do you do?
Depends on the show. Like Friday Night Late Show, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and, we're going to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But if it's Saturday early show, very little.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a tool.
Because why?
Because Friday Night Late Show, they're drunk, they're not paying attention, they're
right.
tired, and
Yeah.
when you do crowd work, everybody pays attention.
Yeah, right.
And also, I find it fun because you're going to get great stories out of people. You're going to get fun interactions. And Saturday Night Early Show, I feel like those are the people that really came for a show.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
And when you're doing crowd work, you're not really building.
No.
So
And there's so much crowd work going on right now in the comedy world. And mostly because people are trying to cut it into clips and put it online. And they don't want to burn material.
Yeah.
So they figure I'll just do crowd work and I'll put that up. But guess what? A lot of them are not good at crowd work. And
you are if you distill it down to 15 seconds.
Well, not even then. Sometimes I watch the clip and I go I don't get why this is funny,
Are you talking about the clip I just posted? Is that why we're sitting here?
Did you just post this?
I did. I did. I did. You want to hear it?
No, I know. No.
It's 15 seconds.
But all right, play it.
Okay, here we go.
But but then there's also you get on a show and now you're following 3 people that did nothing but crowd work, and now this crowd is expecting that you're going to talk to them too.
Yeah.
And they're yelling out, and it's just bad. It's bad for comedy.
This isn't really crowd work, but here, you tell me if
let's
this.
hear it.
You tell me if this is funny.
Like my time in the Navy with supervision.
Time in the Navy with supervision? Yeah, because you had supervision. I did. Anyway, I don't. Oh, being supervised. I thought you had a special power, sir.
Hilarious.
What is supervision and how do I get it? He's like,
This is a guy who's like, your time in the Navy.
That's funny.
Yeah, when I was in the Navy with supervision, I'm thinking super, what is that? I don't even know.
That's very funny.
So, but that was just a thing that just.
Yeah, no, and I'm not. The thing that kills me is I'm really good at crowd work.
You have said if that wasn't funny. Would you have said it?
Yeah, I
Or
would
you'd
have said it was not funny.
Okay, good,
Oh,
good.
I love shitting on
Okay,
people. Yeah.
Good. I feel like you.
No, but I would put myself up against anybody with crowd work. I started in Boston. I worked in the trenches in New York City for years where you have to do it.
Yeah.
But now I'm reticent to actually post a crowd work clip because I feel like it's so done. It's so overdone. And I'm not knocking you.
Oh, no. I think you can't, you have to you have to pepper it in.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you have to have a foundation. You have to have concrete
Well,
bits
you work
or
in
stories.
breweries. People are going to talk to you.
They're going to, and once I kind of realized that, that's when I was, because it used to be like, in my mind, guys, shut up, let me finish the story. But now if I let them be part of it, then the show is kind of handmade for them. When I do, before my shows, I do a half hour for the VIPs, and most people end up being VIPs because you get in.
What do you mean, on the same stage?
On the same stage.
And you make everybody else wait out front?
Yeah, well, the GA is just kind of out drinking in the outside bar or outside or whatever it is, and then the VIPs are inside, and most of the people are VIPs. And then I'll do a 30-minute Q&A
You're not doing stand-up. You're just doing a Q&A for 30 minutes.
For 30 minutes, yeah. And which is kind of like, lets me know what people are interested in. It kind of lets me talk with them and answer their questions and stuff like that. And also kind of like lets me gauge the temperature of the room.
Yeah, see, like you would have been a great manager. You understand like focus grouping stuff and knowing your audience. Like they say that's the key to stand-up is like know your audience.
Yeah.
And like my audience is like fucking overweight lesbian. I had a middle-aged black woman at my last show that was quoting shows going back 12 years. I get kind of Trekkies in their 30s. I get married. It's just I don't know who the fuck my audience is. You
could figure it out from that. I mean, I can see a common thread through all that. No, but you know what it is? It's not like the frat guys. It's not. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
These are honestly you attract intellectual people,
right? Which is why I've done the Howard Stern show over 50 times.
Yeah,
I've done Rogan 23 times. And I'm not selling out theaters like other guys are because that's not my audience.
You know, it's funny. That's interesting. You were talking about this recently. I saw a clip you talking about this about like when you were saying something, or maybe it was our conversation. I don't remember, but like you were saying something that maybe was offending the right, and you're just like, I didn't even realize I had those people. You know,
right.
Like you thought it was on more towards the left or whatever it is, and I mean. I don't know. I get sort of you've done Carolla's show too?
Probably 150 times.
Do you ever just like, and maybe you are kind of like this too. He's so like steadfast in his opinions.
Yes.
I'm just kind of sometimes in awe of it.
Well, it's amazing, and it doesn't jibe with my views. Most of his views are not the same as mine, and so like the last time.
But are you as steadfast? You know what I mean? Like, are you is able to argue? Maybe you are.
No, I don't go there because again, like my audience is so all over the place, and I do have fans from, you know, Rogan's fans. I think tend to skew, even though I don't consider him a conservative. A lot of his fans skew that way because they're attracted to that manliness, that sense of picking yourself up and being proactive and MMA, and it's just. So I try not to really get political. I mean, I do a little bit, but I try to avoid it. And so when I do Carolla and he gets political, I just kind of hit the mute button.
Yeah.
And then he pointed it out the last time I was on. He was like, well, you certainly went silent on that last thing. And I'm like, well, what do you want me to say?
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
I'm not going to. There are times where I mix it up with him.
Yeah.
But I know that his audience, they're in lockstep with him. And what am I going to gain from doing that?
That's true. I mean, I just try to, I don't know if I'd say try to, or if it's just I do what I do. I just stay away from that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that it's my job to make people, you know, have a temporary escape. From the just being inundated from information about this and that. Like, just sit down for an hour. Listen to some funny stories that you may or may not be able to relate to. I think you probably can relate to all of them. Just it's some portion of that. But like, I'm not going to get political. I do have opinions on that, but they just aren't that strong.
I just hate that somebody just sent me a review of Gen X black comedy is dead was the headline. And it was in the HuffPost.
That's so specific.
And it was like, it was shitting on Monique's new special, Chappelle's special, I forget who else, but you know that they were saying something, but it wasn't the right thing, and it's like, okay, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, right.
Who are you to review comedy?
I mean, who is anyone to review comedy that's not a comic?
Right.
And even at that point, you know, we're not going to shit on someone if we can see the work was put in.
Right, and it's also like, who says that stand-up has to be aspirational? Who says that what I'm doing by making people laugh for an hour is not as, you know, I mean, look, there are some people, like, I mean, I remember Jerry Seinfeld once said, he goes, nobody has ever in the history of comedy changed their opinion based on what the comedian said, which I don't 100% agree with, because I do think you can
maybe
make a
when
point.
he said it.
Might have been back then.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think George Carlin has made people think a different way.
Yes, I would say.
You know, I think Bill Hicks definitely swayed people a little bit. It made them, because the problem with being a liberal is that we are pigeonholed as delicate pussies. And then when somebody comes along like Bill Hicks or like Al Franken or Jon Stewart, and they've got balls and they can defend the left.
And it is exactly right. And strong opinions. When Jon Stewart's it's like, how are you so well equipped to argue this?
Yeah.
I watched something this morning, and it was about the DeSantis Disney dispute. And they went down there to a retirement community in Disney, like a Disney retirement community, and then just asked people, everyone driving around on the golf carts, and there was left, right, and then the most intelligent answer was from this woman that was just kind of, I won't frame it, but I'll just say, like, to me, I was like, oh yeah, that nailed it. And they like, where are you? She's like, I'm an independent. And I was like, it kind of feels like everyone, that has, I don't know how to say this, but like everyone's kind of going like, you know what, maybe I'm an independent. You guys, what are you doing?
Well,
like, I think I'm
there's
just going to be here.
extremes on both sides
exactly.
that are not representative of either party.
Yeah.
And they are the ones that are getting the splashy headlines, and they're the ones that are swaying elections. I mean, this whole anti-woke thing is such a fucking... what's that phrase? A paper tiger.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. I don't know. I know 2 people in my life that are transsexual. I don't give a fuck who takes a shit in which bathroom.
Yeah.
And nobody else does.
Right.
So why is it in the headlines every day?
Right.
And why is Fox News seizing on it? And why is MSNBC defending it?
Right.
Just, it's insane, because I think what you said is true. I think a lot of people, because of that, are going like, either I'm checking out and I'm not reading news anymore, which is me. I used to be a news junkie.
Yeah.
And now I just don't read it. And or they're just going like, maybe I'll be independent and look for a candidate who will emerge, who can represent my maybe I'm progressive on social issues, and maybe fiscally I'm more conservative.
Right.
That's what everybody's looking for.
Everybody
wants that
everyone
person.
says anyway.
Yeah.
But the issue we find ourselves in today is there's nothing new. It happens to every single generation. It's just it's one side is pushing the agenda, the other side is pulling back or pushing back, and then you end up at the end one small step forward. Like it's like, we want to take 10 steps forward. We want to take 10 steps back, and you go, okay, how about one step forward? That's where you end up. Yeah. And so it's people trying to
shooting
make
for the stars, right?
Shooting for the stars, and ending up on a stage that's 6 inches off the ground.
But the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene gets the amount of space on the news, she is just, I'm sorry, she's not a smart person. She says really dumb things.
And by the way, it's sensationalized, and
yes,
and there's so many people that's what they want. They turn to news as their entertainment.
And the left is watching her too and getting angry.
Yeah.
I, as a rule, stopped listening to any headline that listed the 5 people I consider to be sensationalists. I just, why? So I can get mad? Is that going to change anything? I know what they're saying.
Exactly right.
I know what they're doing. I see the playbook.
You ever seen something like that comes out, it's a big story, and it's developing, and you ever just turn it off and say, I'm gonna tune in 3 days to see how this whole thing distills.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't, because it's like when the World Trade Center fell and every channel was locked into it. It's like nothing's happening. You're just I mean, we were all locked into it, but nothing new was happening. They're just repeating the same thing. Yeah. And it's like, that's kind of,
and not to just go after the right, like the super progressives, when they started saying defund the police, that phrase was used as a cudgel against the left.
Right.
It did more damage to the Black Lives Matter movement, which was a legitimate movement that has been marginalized because of the violence that happened and the looting that happened. And it ignores the foundation of it, which is there's systemic disparities between the school systems, redlining for loans. I mean, there's things that are affecting Black lives that need to be addressed. And that sentiment has been, completely politicized to where we've given up on it.
And you need big moves to make small steps. Think about like school integration back in like the 60s, 50s, 60s. And so and big things to make small moves. And so that's all we're doing. And we look back on this in 100 years, we'll still be fighting something.
Yeah.
As we get further away from reactionary, impulsive animals to intellectual beings.
Yes.
Like there'll be a time when 100 years from now, you'll look at single-use plastics and think of like, what the fuck were we thinking? You ever taken out the garbage after a day and be like, what am I doing?
Right.
So no one wants to upend their lives, and one person doing it is not going to make a difference. And so, and again, it's going to just take small. Now we're recycling. Now we have recycling bins by the road, and then we have this, and then it's just small steps to get, to bring humanity along. Let's just hope that we last long enough to see it.
Well, it is amazing to see science respond to this environmental disaster. Like there really is. They're not cost efficient yet, but there is going to be desalinization at some point. There is going to be the ability to harness solar power in a way that actually really works for the grids. There's things that will, like you said, will it be in time to save the fucking ozone layer? Or I don't know, but it is pretty amazing that we do show up,
We do. We do. And yeah, I mean, who knows?
All right, let's get to this. Enough politics. Nobody wants to hear politics on Fitzdog Radio. They want to hear dick jokes. They want to hear me insult.
Is that what they turn for? The people that you listed of your demographics, I think are all attuned to what we're saying, It's so funny.
All I know is they love me, and I love them back. And thank you. Thank you, my audience.
I can't wait for the influx of your fans to start following me on my social media. I don't know if I'm prepared for it.
What's your social media platform? Let's list them.
You know what? Instagram is pretty much where I,
Okay.
Instagram. Well, I'll tell you two things. Okay, so Instagram, my name @Zane Lamprey, but then YouTube. So I'm doing my Crafts and Crafts podcast every week. So it's Zane's World is my podcast.
Okay.
So I do my Crafts and Crafts, and then I do a Zane's World.
Okay.
And I'm thoroughly enjoying both. And the interesting thing that happened was, as I was saying, like I had a bunch of travel drinking shows because I found success with those. Again, I think, getting on the Tonight Show and being able to fill rooms, because of the show that I did, I was like, when the network got canceled, I had to kind of figure a way back into it. But now we're at a point where, and I had to kind of have my agent be like, hey, it's done. You know what I mean? Like, there's not even a travel channel anymore.
Really?
No, they removed the vowels. It's TRVL,
Right.
And it's all paranormal stuff. And
that's
so
like the History Channel isn't about history anymore.
Yeah, right. It's they're just like, okay, what do people want? And so like there is just because people say to me all the time, Zane, why don't you just get on another travel drinking show? It's so much fun. I'm like, I spent the last 10 years doing that. Possibly to the detriment of other things I could have been doing, because now that I'm back doing stand-up.
Are there like any website channels that you could do a show on that would actually have revenue and be able to pay for your show?
Yes, but the thing is, it would come back end. It would like to go off and shoot a travel show and do it right. You legitimately do need,
$100,000.
Yeah, $100,000. You do to hire all the people and to pre-production, post-production, all that kind of stuff. And so I can't front that on the hopes that.
Isn't it weird that we've come this far with the internet, but there still aren't channels? I mean, YouTube is a channel, but it's a user-generated channel. It's not commissioning and developing its own content.
Well,
I mean, are there any websites that are fully like?
It's just like saying, are there any stores beside Amazon? Like, yeah, there are, but everyone just goes to Amazon. Like, yeah, there are, but everyone just goes to YouTube. There are these.
It's so crazy because YouTube, like, I got 200,000 views on a video recently, but then it got flagged because they said it was too dirty, and I got no revenue.
Wow.
And it's like, okay, and then Twitter all of a sudden wants me to pay for a check. It's like, motherfucker, I've been giving you free content.
I know.
I literally am the reason why, me and everybody else,
that whole
of why
thing is
people
just-
come on.
that's just weird.
And now you want me to pay for it?
So
And
now you've devalued anyone having it.
Right, and
It's
you've
dumb.
also, I no longer have the protection of somebody saying something racist under an @ Fitzsimmons,
Yeah, right.
maybe without the Z in it.
Yeah, right.
And so, yeah, I'm very upset with that, and I'm also upset that Apple Podcasts, we literally hand them our content week in and week out, and they monetize it, and we don't get a fucking dime. Why don't the top 1,000 podcasters start an association, build a website, and it can still be just like Apple Podcasts or whatever, simple. It's got an app.
But there's so many of those platforms. You know, like I put my podcast.
No, but it would be exclusive. That's the difference. These people.
That's like a network. That's like a podcast network.
Exactly.
You know,
right.
Because I think some of them are making a lot of money doing it and don't want to rock the boat.
They don't, but they have to think long term, because if you really had a podcast network that efficiently got people off all other,
I'm in. I'll give you $100 towards it. You are
got $100
robbing me blind.
burning a fucking hole in your pocket.
Here's the deal. This is a secret, and this is something. This is the takeaway you get from this show.
Okay.
I have in my phone case.
Yeah.
Okay. I always carry this around, and if I use it, I replace it.
$100 bill.
So that
Hey, let's play liars poker with $100 bills right now.
Fine. This is 100 you're getting for your Mustang.
Okay.
What do you do? How do you play it?
Liars poker.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to take your money.
Whoa, that is presumptuous of you, sir.
You take the serial number on the bill and you say, I've got 2 3s, and then you have to do better than it. You have to say, well, I have 3 3s,
Okay.
or you have to say, I have 2 6s, and then you keep bettering each other
Until you call
but
it
it's
bullshit.
based on the sum of both our numbers.
Okay. You didn't expect to have that as of this time yesterday because you just were given it.
Right.
And I was going to give you $100 towards your Mustang fund anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, now I'm going to feel bad taking your money.
I don't want to
Okay.
do this.
I don't want to take your money. I don't want to take
Let's
your money.
play it just for fun. and
Here, you know
see
what?
who
No,
would've
let's do
won.
that. Let's do that. Okay, we'll play it for fun. Yeah, go ahead. Ready?
All right. I got 2 2s. That's the lowest you can start with.
Yeah, I will say 2 5s.
2 9s.
2 9s?
Yep.
And what about like a full house or 2 pairs?
No, it's just total number
just
of
total
one
number. Okay, got it.
And
I
zeros
have
are high.
3 7s.
I got 4 7s.
No, you don't.
I got 2 7s. How many you got?
Wait. It's combined?
Yeah.
2 7s.
All right, I get.
I didn't know it was
$100.
combined. Here's what
No,
we do. I'm
not
gonna give you.
take it.
No, give me that.
What?
You won. Fair and
No,
square.
get the fuck
Give me
outta
that. Give me that. Give me yours. There you go. There we go.
We exchanged.
Yeah.
hundreds.
Yeah. But you leave a winner.
You had.
I didn't
2
know it was
7s.
combined.
Yeah.
Well done.
That's why we didn't
Well
play
done.
for real. All right, so let's get to. Here's a segment
Yeah.
I do on my show.
Oh yeah. This is the
It's
one
called
where you.
a few with Fitz. Although I need to brand it. You're a good brander. You come
Yeah.
up with good titles. Your Chug Show and all your little cute
Yeah.
titles.
If the shoe fits, I don't know. That's all I got.
Keep working on that.
It's workshopping. Hey, there's no bad ideas. Yeah,
that was a
except for
bad
that.
Have you ever borrowed or lent a lot of money?
Yeah, I have. When I was doing my my Kickstarter, I was in the middle of like a refi, and I had to. And anyway, I was like, I wasn't going to get paid the money from Kickstarter from like 15 days afterwards.
Yeah.
And I needed to order. This is when I had my sweatshirts, and I needed to order them in order to get them in production.
Okay.
I couldn't wait. And so a buddy of mine, I forget what he did, but he was telling me over drinks. He's like, "Yeah, I just got a few $100,000 for doing this deal." Da, da, da. I'm like, "Can I borrow 100?
100,000?
100,000?"
No shit.
And I said, it's backed by, like, here's my Kickstarter made $2 million.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it was the highest, it was the most funded fashion Kickstarter ever. It made like 1.9.
So is that just basically people going, I'm giving you the money up front and then you're going to give me the product?
Pre-buying, exactly. But I needed to put these into production.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so, and I said, look, here's how I can back that. And I said, it's 100,000. And I think I was like, I'll give you $5,000.
Yeah.
And just so I could get everything started. And he's like, yeah, sure. And so he did it. I don't remember how he did it. If it was like a handful, I don't remember. But yeah, and I paid him back. And it was like, it was like, because you could go in, Kickstarter can for any reason, like, oh, we're shutting this down because of da-da-da-da, whatever. I'd be like, do you need this?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Right.
So yeah, anyway.
Second question, what's the hackiest bit that you've ever done?
Oh yeah, okay, this is great. So the worst one I did was, this is so bad. When I did my show 3 Sheets, I had to go to Seattle. So it was an international drinking show, but they didn't have the budget to shoot the pilot internationally, and they were based out of Seattle, so they flew me up there. So I flew to Seattle to shoot the pilot, but if you shoot the pilot in Seattle, how do you get home?
Yeah.
Because you shot the pilot.
Right.
So who's going to fly the plane?
Whoa. Wow. Wow.
Oh God. I did that bit maybe like 3 times because it got that reaction. And to me, it was like, it's
Did
so
people
funny
laugh?
for me. No, because you know what? I never got to the point where like you missed the point.
I missed the point.
Yeah. So it's like, and I was gonna figure it out, and then Nick, he's like, yeah, maybe you kill it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, sometimes it's fun when something dies. If you are laughing along with them, it's like funny.
Norm Macdonald and Gary Shandling were famous for that. They would tell the corniest, stupidest jokes, and they would stand right behind them. They never backed off.
So you've asked that a lot. Am I like top 10?
No, that's up there. That's really bad. No, but everybody's got one. Mm-hmm. It's usually from when you started, but sometimes even more recently, because we're always taking a risk, and you want to be silly.
Yeah.
Like talking about George Carlin, like he can have the most like insightful social commentary, and then he can do just a silly fart joke.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. But you know what's crazy, and people, I don't know, people who aren't comedians don't understand this, but it's like, how do you... Like, why do you need to work stuff out? You wrote it out.
Yeah.
You can see it. And you're just like, because I don't know if my brain to your ears, to your, center of reasoning I don't know if it's going to work. And
there's also like an art to when the joke breaks. Like, when do they get it?
Right.
And how much do I want to give them? How much do I want them to connect the dots? That's the art. And that's when you have to do it in front of people, because you don't know that if I pause here, then that's going to give them the time they need to meet me at the next thought. All that stuff is choreographed through experience. Yeah.
Like, I was going to ask this, but I don't know, like, the group Oasis.
Sure.
There was like, one of the brothers like was writing all
Gallagher's.
the songs. Yeah. And he, like, I forget what the song was, but he just goes, what do you think about this? And he played it. And everyone's like, that's best song you've ever heard. He's like, yeah, I just kind of came up with it. And it's like the rest of them need workshopping. And I'm trying to think of if I've ever had a joke. A joke is like, like maybe it's like a minute, like a bit. I don't know if I've had a bit that's just like worked the first time.
Yeah.
It all needs some massaging.
Or sometimes it works the first time.
And that doesn't work the second time.
And then it doesn't work the second
right.
time. And you realize that for whatever reason, when you told it, it was so fresh in your mind and you were so excited about it that there was an energy attached to it.
That's right.
That you don't have the next time.
I have a buddy it's so funny. My buddy's name is Neil Boble. And he just turned 60. And he was a comedian. And then when his wife had the baby, she's a news anchor here at like KCAL 9 or whatever. And so he was like, okay, you've supported me and I'm going to support you. And so he just kind of stopped. And he would do like shows like one a year and then whatever. But anyway, he's so fun to watch because a lot of his stuff is like a little shticky, but his laughter is like it's the presentation of it.
Yeah.
You know? It's like I heard
Right.
Dom DeLuise like one time and we were at this dinner and he told this story and it just wasn't that funny, but it's Dom DeLuise. He can literally read the phone book and it's amazing, you know?
Yeah, Andy Kindler does some silly shit that he just means to be dumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he's got some really smart jokes too. Like
You have to be, you know.
he goes, Jim Belushi, who died and made that guy famous.
You have to know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
My buddy, Steve McKenna, he had a beard and, you know, he would always have these one-liners. Sometimes I would give him the one-liner, we'd have the camera on and say it twice to make, you know, whatever. And he just kind of like was playing like the dumb guy. And that's when like The Hangover was out and he looked a lot like Zach Galifianakis. And he was kind of like thinking that that's where his direction was. And I was like, you don't understand. Like to play as dumb as Zach played in The Hangover, you need to be very smart to understand where the dumb is and how to ride that. You can't actually be dumb and play dumb because then you're just not going to be able to do it.
Right.
It's not. So, yeah. You have to know what you're playing with if you're hitting intellectual and, you know, sticky stuff.
All right, last question.
Okay.
Have you ever not finished a set?
I don't think so. I don't. Yeah, I did. I'll tell you what it was. I was as the Athenaeum Theater in Indianapolis. And this is when I was trying to figure out, because the crowd, especially back then, they would tailgate. And they'd come into the theater just raucous. And I would like sometimes fight to tell them stories. Not fight against them, but like sometimes there's somebody that like is just too far gone. And they're just messing up the show for the whole room. And so I said to our tour manager, this guy Gio, I said, look, he's in the back. You sometimes can't hear the person that's just like, bro, please just stop. Let me finish. And so I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about the guy's shirt. Hey, that's a fun shirt. Where do you, da-da-da-da. If I do that, just go take the guy out, just bring him to the bar, buy him a drink. Don't like kick him out, you know, whatever. And he's like, okay, that'll be our secret little code. And this is the night we came up with it. So I go up there. And I'm like towards the end, and I'm like talking to somebody in the audience, not disruptive people. And I said, like who? The guy's like me, like no, the guy in the green shirt. And I start talking to him. I answer his question, and I go to the next person, and then I don't notice, but like 5 minutes later, I noticed that like there was a packed house, and there was like 5 people missing, and then there's 10 people, and I was like, what's going on? And like I was like, what happened? It's like, you kicked that guy out. I'm like, what are you talking about? I've been up here. How could I kick somebody out?
Shit.
Like, oh my God.
Whoa.
And I was like, what happened? And then one of my crew members was like, yeah, you said the guy's shirt, so Gio like took him outside. I was like, all right, we're done. Sorry. And I ran outside to the guy and I'm like, come in, I'm giving you a shirt,
hilarious.
like da-da-da-da-da, whatever.
A shirt, of course.
Yeah, but like, but you know, and like take pictures, whatever. He's like, I didn't do anything. I'm like, you did not do anything, but I was
so
just like,
funny.
Yeah. So
wow.
So yes, I have for my own dumb reasons.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I like that.
I'm gonna tell you one more quick story because we're at the Santa Monica airport.
Yeah.
Can people know that?
Yeah, that's fine.
And so I one time shot this pilot with Merv Griffin, who, by the way, was the guy who told me that pilot joke. Because I pitched him a show called Festered, where we would go to different festivals. And if the festival was crazy, I'd be myself. And if the festival was kind of like benign, I would be like a character. Like I went to the Lobster Fest in San Pedro dressed as a lobster, asking people if they've ever had crabs. Stupid. And so
that didn't qualify for a hackiest bit you've ever done?
Well, it wasn't the hackiest. I was like, hey, I was dressed as a lobster with a mustache. You ever have lobster before? And I was like, yeah. You ever have crabs? He's like, yeah. I go, you use the same medication for both? Yeah, it's horrible. And so, I pitched this show to Merv. It's a longer story, but we were going to go to the Testicle Festival in Clinton, Montana.
No.
And have you heard of it?
No.
So amazing. And they fry up bull testicles.
Okay.
And we're like, all right, let's do it. And I remember he wanted to pay me like $150. And he's like, you know any camera guys? I'm like, yeah, sure. He's like, can you get him for $50 a day? And I was like, maybe like 100. I don't know, like, you know. And
This
so
is Merv Griffin,
Merv Griffin
with all the money in the world.
the at one point wealthiest celebrity on the planet, wealthiest entertainer on the planet.
Yeah.
He was living and working out of Beverly Hilton at the time. I was like, yeah, sure. So we make all these changes, and I had my agents like, yeah, fine, whatever. We're doing it for next to nothing, but it's the opportunity to do it. And so how are we going to get there? And his son Tony was like, was directing it. And he's like, oh, we'll just take our plane. So I was like, oh, how much is fuel on that thing? So we met here at the Santa Monica airport, my first time on a private jet, drive into the hangar, and then we take off in his Challenger. And they let me sit in Merv's chair, which, you know, he has all of his pens because he's fanatical about doing the New York Times crossword puzzle every day. And we fly to the Testicle Festival, and we get there, and it's a biker rally.
Wow.
I mean, it is thousands of bikers go in there, and to the point where I was in a t-shirt, so I think I bought like a leather vest so I could fit in a little better. And so did the whole thing, and then went out to drink that night and just got hammered. Tony and I got along well, and the crew. And then we were supposed to go back the next morning, and like I think I called him at 11. I'm like, dude, I can't make it. And he's like, let's just go at 2, go back to sleep. So went there at 2, drove up there, empty. There's no one there. We didn't realize that it had ended the day before. Oh. And so like, all right, so fine. We get, you know, he calls the pilot. We go back on the plane, and then fly home. And so we're flying home and just talking, whatever. It's now nighttime, and there's all of a sudden this pop and this hiss from the cockpit. And I was like, what was that? He's like, I don't know. So Tony goes up there, talks to the pilots. You can see the pilots, you know, and they both put on oxygen masks.
Oh, shit.
And he comes back. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, I don't know. Something's wrong. Just buckle up. So we buckle up. He calls his wife, you know, honey, I love you.
No.
And tell the kids. I'm like, bro, what is going on?
Yeah.
And the camera guy, his face starts to turn green.
Is he getting this on film?
No. Always the best things are the things not on camera. Right. And so, come to find out, like the windshield on the plane cracked. But I guess there's multiple layers, and so if one goes away, it's not that big of a deal. But it could go into the engine, so something like that. So anyway, so we do an emergency landing in Burbank, and then we get off the plane, and there's 5 of us. So there's 5 taxis to bring us all back to here to get in our cars and drive home. And it's like, the amount of money that costs, it's fine.
And you got paid $150.
I got paid $150, but it's like that whole thing, because of emergency landing and the taxis and the fuel and the hotels. I mean, that must have cost $50,000. I don't know, but anyway.
I know that's like working for Viacom is always like that. Like I would do, like they'd pay you. I hosted a show on MTV one time, and I just remember, I can't remember the money, but it was pathetically low. But then like they have a Christmas party, and it's at the hottest nightclub in New York, and it's open bar, and you can bring 2 friends, and they'll send a limo to bring you there. It's like, how about you fucking pay me?
Yeah.
All right. My final thing is a segment called Talk Your Way Out of It.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a situation. It could be awkward, could be stressful.
I'm going to imagine
and by the seat of your pants and the gift of your wit,
my gift of gab.
Your gift of gab, you're going to talk your way out of it. Okay. You're talking to your hot wife.
Okay.
And you say to her, you know, look, I think it would be great for us at this point in our relationship, keep things interesting, spice it up. Let's have a 3-way.
Okay.
And she doesn't even hesitate. And she goes, you know what? That sounds like fun. And you can't believe your fortune.
Okay.
Come home the next night, you walk in the door, and she's sitting there with the pool boy. And they're having some champagne. Okay. And she's like, this is it, baby.
Okay.
Talk your way out of it.
When did we hire a pool boy? That's what I would say. Because I'm not.
I didn't say he was your pool boy. Because it's just a pool boy.
Because I'm not paying for that. And can we not find a man to do his job? You know what I mean? It feels wrong. I don't know how old this boy is that you're sitting with. Who paid for all this fucking champagne?
Is he even old enough to drink it? He's a boy.
He's old enough to drink. What are you teaching him? Are you teaching him to sew? I don't understand what's happening. Yeah, I'm confused.
All right,
And
I
then
think
how
you're
long?
out.
How long we have him for? Can we?
Yeah.
Can you do other things too?
Yeah,
Can we
yeah,
have him like trim the hedges or get to small places that we can't reach?
What else can he skim? Can he skim the lawn?
What can we use him for? Can he skim? Yes. Yeah. Good. Did I work?
All right.
Did it work?
That was great. You're out, my friend. All right, so listen, we got tour dates coming up. Where did I write down your tour dates?
A lot of them. A lot of them.
Hold
I'm
on.
traveling the country from now until December,
No.
doing shows.
Are you serious?
I am. I'm doing over 100 shows between now and December. I looked at Gary Goldman's. He just announced his tour, and I think it has like 30 dates. I'm like, you lucky son of a bitch. But
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm out there, especially if I live in LA, if I'm on the East Coast, I'm not going to do a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday, and then fly home for a day, and then do it.
Yeah.
So we'll just stay, and because of that, I'll be like, all right, let's add a
Do you have
Tuesday.
a tour bus or are you flying everywhere?
I did a tour bus twice.
Yeah.
So expensive, and just at the end of the day, not worth it. So now what we do, we all fly in,
How many people?
3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll get like a Tahoe or Suburban, and then we'll just drive, do the show. It's if we ever added somebody to our crew, they would cost us time because of how efficient we are.
Right.
And so one guy does the merch, one guy does this, the takedown, the setup, all that kind of stuff, and then we start the show at like 8. We're usually on the road by like 10:10.
Yeah.
And we do our drives that night. So I might be drinking on stage, but like Nick, if he's driving, he's not drinking, or if Trent's driving that night.
I love it.
And then we go to the hotel, wake up the next morning in the city we're supposed to be in, sleep in, and then do the next one.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I'm in your
So-
city. If someone's listening in the U.S., I will be within 50 nautical miles
I'm going to
of you.
spit out just the
Okay.
near ones. North Hollywood, California, Huntington Beach. That's the taping.
That's a special.
That's the big one. May
Yeah.
13th at the Golden Road Brewing. Minneapolis, Madison, Milwaukee, Naperville, Fort Wayne, Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, Detroit, Cleveland, Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, Altamont, Vermont, Framingham, Mass, Bloomfield, Connecticut, Providence, Manchester, Port. I mean, it just goes on. And I go to zanelamprey.com.
You see my
and-
map there? I
Yeah.
created the map. It's color-coded. So rather than searching for your city, you just find where you are on a map.
Very smart.
Find that color and go down there and do
I've
it.
learned so much from you today. I'm inspired to get my shit together.
Good.
I'm shooting for the stars,
Do
Zane.
it. Do it. Do it while you're young.
Do you son of a bitch.
You son of a bitch.
All right, man. Thanks for
Thanks,
having.
brother. That's
Thanks
fun.
for being here. All right. See ya.